Hello, everybody. Father Sudie and I are just getting settled into our small apartments here in France. You know, it's interesting, when we first got into the airport, there were so many kind people that met us there. We ran into some complications in traveling, and they immediately offered assistance. It kind of got me thinking about the founders of the Congregation of the Resurrection and the many ways in which they offered assistance to others. You see, they were kind of in a similar situation in that they were in a foreign country. You see, they were coming from Poland, and as they looked around and saw how helpful people could be to each other, they decided that they were going to do that and use Christianity as a vehicle. And so as they began to gather together to say, you know what, we want to give our lives in service to others. We believe that Jesus Christ really is God's only Son, and He will empower us to make a difference in the world. As they gathered and all agreed on that, they began to form the Congregation of the Resurrection. They began to meet, to pray together, to eat together, and to share all things in common. And so as we as resurrectionists celebrate February 17th as our Founders Day, we celebrate that first gathering of those individuals who got together and said, you know what, being a resurrectionist is something that we all want to do. It's a way that we want to bring hope to the world. It's the way we want to reach out to others. So we continue to trace the roots of the community that first formed here in Paris. Can you tell us a little bit about this building and why it's significant in the history of the congregation?
Well, this is the third place this one is on Boulevard Montparnasse that they expanded to when they had to move at times.
So who would have met here?
Jansky was still here. Semenenko and Hubei and Kayashevich and Valerians, I think, had already gone to Rome. They had 12 members to start out. 5 moved in 176 years ago. 5 moved into 11 Rue Notre-Dame-des-Champs that we will see a bit later. And then there were 7 others joined them there, and Jansky and Kayashevich moved over to the College Stanislas.
Is there anything you'd like to say to the people celebrating Founders Day today?
Well, we're trying to walk in the footsteps of the founders at least, and experience some of the places, even though they've changed very much, that they were at.
Great. Well, I smell some crepes. What do you say, Father? How do we go and celebrate by eating some?
All right.
We are located at 11 Rue de Notre-Dame-des-Champs, where the first founders of the community gathered. And so they would have gathered, mainly to pray, to share meals together, to share their life in common. They would have shared their hopes and their dreams for the future. Father Sudie, can you tell us a little bit about the history of those first gatherings and who would have been at them?
The first gathering, actually, the people moved in on February 17th, 1836. There were 5 people who moved into the house that day. They didn't do anything in particular. It was the first Sunday of Lent when they got together to have their first meeting. The other time was just spent moving in. Eventually, Jansky had rented space for 12 people here, and when that filled up, he had to go and rent a couple of the other spots that we have seen in Paris. They're not far from here, and College Stanislas is just down the street.
How does it make you feel being so close to the place where a community was founded, the community you belong to, that we belong to, the Congregation of the Resurrection?
You get a sense of the dedication of Jansky to community, and also to his idea that he could help raise up society. He wanted to help the émigrés return to their practice of religion, and he wanted to sponsor education and develop religious life.
What we are looking at now is a modern-day version of St. Stanislas College. That would be the college where founders Jerome Kashevich and Peter Semenenko first went to school. Father Sudie, can you tell us a little bit more about this college and the significance of it within the Congregation of the Resurrection?
Well, it was the Semenenko and Kajashevich were the first two to study, to be sent to school, and they lived here Monday to Wednesday, and then Thursday went back to the house that we're going to see next, and then Friday and Saturday they were back here. They paid for their schooling by being prefects at the school, as College Stanislaus was a boarding academy at that time, and they took some of their philosophy studies here.
In front of us we have a very significant church in the Congregation of the Resurrection and for many other people, but this one in particular because our founding fathers came here on occasion. Father Sudie, can you tell us a little bit about this church?
This is the Église Notre-Dame des Champs. It's Our Lady of the Fields, and actually in their time it would have almost been on the outskirts of Paris, even though we're only just across the street where we took the pictures from the building going up. It's close to College Stanislaus, where they went to school, and frequently for morning mass they would come here.
Father Sudie, across the street we have a significant church in the community's history. Can you tell us a little bit about this church?
This is the Église des Carmes, and frequently Semenenko and Kajashevich and some of the others would come here to serve the early morning masses, and they often came here too for spiritual direction from one of the Carmelite monks.
This church is called Saint-Germain-des-Prés, and it's also a very significant church within the Congregation of the Resurrection for these reasons.
The followers of Bogdan Yansky, as well as Yansky himself, used to come here to this chapel. As you see, the entrance is the same as it was then for Sunday Vespers, and they would also come over here on feast days for the High Mass. It used to be a Benedictine monastery that was suppressed during the time of the French Revolution, but the church, parts of the church are from the 6th century.